Hi everybody, it's Leslie here and welcome to this is my Christmas spinning puzzle cards part 2. So part 1 was all about circles and we did baubles and snow globes, and today in part 2 we're going to focus on stars. I really loved the dinosaur star one that we created, and that was in my original spinning puzzle card and that series. That was part 3 of that had loads more shapes and lots of ideas for kids cards in it as well. And I really loved these because unlike with the circles, you get to see the layers showing in between. So I'm not going to show you these solved. I'm going to make you go away and watch the video so you get to see these solved. So I've got 6 cards today, and probably it's only really 3 different ideas, but I thought it was nice to see different variations and different things that you could do these out of. So this is one, and then a variation on that using different colours in the layers. So this is a little bit like the dinosaur one that we inlaid different colours. This was just using silver and some pattern paper, and like you probably can't even tell what that's going to be yet, so you'll have to watch the video. Again, this is another circle one. This was just showing in different colours, and then these two are actually just off the same design. So something I'm going to talk about today is using up scraps, using things like stamp platforms so that you could mass produce these for Christmas if you wanted to. So although it takes a little bit of time just to stick all your layers together and do your die cutting, you can definitely batch make if you do some simple design. So that's what I'm showing you with these ones. And yeah, ways you can get your children involved or your grandchildren involved with the colouring, for example. So yeah, I'm going to whiz through really how these are made. I'm not going to do much of the making on screen. If you've not seen, sorry, that was my dog sneezing if you heard that. If you've not seen any of my spinning puzzle card series, I'll link to Christmas part 1 because that shows you how to hide your brad in the middle. So on this one, the brad's showing. It's this little pink blob in the middle. It's actually showing, but it's become part of the image. But if you don't want your brad to show, the Christmas spinning puzzle cards part 1 shows you how to hide your brad. I will show it as we go along today as well. You probably get the idea, but I'll link that one below. And if you've never seen these at all, go back to my original spinning puzzle cards. The star one is in part 3 that I did originally. I'll link that below as well so that you can see. These are all stamping examples, but you can certainly do it with die cut images as well. And the dinosaur example in the spinning puzzle cards part 3, that shows you how to do a star one from scratch. So I'm not really going to do much showing you how to do it. This is more of an ideas, things you can use up out of your stash, and just different ideas of different images. So there they all mixed up. Let's get started. I thought the first card I would show you today would be a smaller card because at Christmas, of course, you spend lots of cards. So if you're trying to keep your postage down, something that's fairly flat and at least in the UK smaller might have less postage. So this is a UK A6 card blank, which if you're in America, that's roughly the same size as your standard A2 card blank. So it's not quite 4.5 by 5.25, which A2 is. It's UK A6 or European A6, which is really similar. It's just a slightly narrower and it's slightly taller. So that's what size this is. And I thought I would show you this idea. Hopefully this will work. One of my video series that I've been doing is one called Use Your Craft Stuff or Use Your Stuff. And someone in the comments said they'd love to see me using other old supplies up. And they suggested outline stickers would be a good one for me to show you some ideas to use up. So this video could sit equally well in my Use Your Crafts stash series and Use Your Stuff. So these are peel off stickers. Now, if you were crafting 20 years ago, the chances are you've got some peel off stickers somewhere in your stash. And I went through my stash and found these ones. So these are all nativity scene ones. So there's different, variations on the nativity scene. You could put these on a long card because we've got the, nativity in the middle with the three kings, and then this obviously was the shepherds. And I decided to use the shepherds because serendipitously there is a star right in the middle there. So I thought, well, there's a star in the middle, let's use the star dies on this. And if I show you on, I have stuck it down the scrap, it almost fits perfectly, that star in the middle. But I just thought I'd show you, I've got these lurking in my stash, and I could easily use, one sheet on 3 cards, and I've got them in silver. And then there's these ones, which are kind of like a stained glass window design that I thought would work brilliantly as well. So, one with a dove. This one's got a little, I guess it's one of the cherubims with a horn. Oh, throwing them around. There's this set that I thought might work as well, which is, not nativity ones, but they're definitely Christmas images with holly and things. And then maybe not these ones so much, but maybe the Little Father Christmas or something. You could do a little tiny one, or the snowman one. You could do a little tiny version. And then I've got some bells I thought you could do. And then just to show you, I've got greetings that obviously some have been used over the years, some haven't. But you could just use the greetings and use up your greetings and do it as a completely use up your outline stickers, peel off stickers, whatever you call them, kind of a day. And these are great to use with kids as well. So I thought I'd show you what I had that I thought would work. So all I've done is I've actually cut this to, it's a little bit bigger actually than my card blank, but I'll trim it at the end. So all I did was I literally peeled off my peel off sticker, stick it so that it was roughly so I could fit a greeting up here, and center my star on the star in the middle. So hopefully you can see that. So all I'm going to do, I might peel my tape back so I can make sure I do it properly. Center my star on there. And all I did was, in the peel off, there was extra, the centers of these stars is what's over here, just to add a bit of interest going out onto these extra stars, the arms on this star. So that's all I've done. So I'm going to cut this, and if you wanted to make this more colourful, you could obviously get the kids colouring it, grandkids colouring it. These lend themselves to helpful small people because, of course, the peel off means they've got a line to go up to. So if you've got little kids who love colouring, or if you love colouring yourself, obviously, the peel off stickers are great for colouring in just normal felt tip pens. So I'm just going to pop and cut this. I might run it backwards and forwards an extra time just to make sure that it actually goes through the peel off. So this could be disastrous because maybe it won't cut through the peel off very well. No, it looks like it's cut through perfectly. I did run it one way and then back, but I think it's cut through fine. Yeah, perfect. Just make sure we don't rip anything. So there we go, we've got our image on the card. So I thought I would try and leave this quite a sophisticated gold and silver idea. It has cut through everything, yeah. Just being careful, making sure I don't peel my sticker up, but it means you don't have to worry about glue on any of this because the peel off sticker is already sticky for you. And hopefully this is going to make a really nice puzzle. So as we've done before, I've cut out one of each layer for to stick these to. And I'm not going to stick to this one. This is going to become my one to allow me to do the hidden brad. So like in the last video, if you haven't watched the first one in my Christmas series, the first video in my Christmas series, which is the baubles and snow globe one, shows you how to do the hidden brad technique. And it just means that you need not to punch through your centerpiece, and you need a piece instead. So as we've done every other time, we're just going to stick all of our layers together, and I've gone for the gold inlay, so this is going to get stuck on the card blank with a gold inlay. I've got a piece to hide behind to stick my foam tape to the back so that this piece spins, and I've got a gold inlay for all my other pieces. So I'm just going to glue all this together. So there you go. If you get everything pre-cut, it only takes a minute or two to pop everything back together. And now, as I always say, make sure that you complete your puzzle before you cut your hole, so that the best finished version of it is with it complete. So if you don't get your hole quite in the middle, you want everything to be lined up when when everything's in the middle. There we go. When everything's in the complete position. I could have just used peel off stickers, like I said, but I thought I'd have a go at using some of my dies. This is just the gold that matches the stars in the layers. That one worked pretty well. The peel off cut through absolutely fine with my dies, and I think that actually makes a really fun puzzle again. Having the gold showing through, it's quite a sophisticated look, but it, works as a puzzle as well. It's not instantly obvious where every part of it lands, so yeah, I think that worked really quite well. Let me just solve it. So there you go, without any of the gold layers showing through, you can see quite clearly what the image is. And yeah, like I say, I just chose this particular one because it had the star at the centre, but it would have worked with any of the other peel-offs that were on the same sheet. Just choose what you're going to have at the centre, and as long as you're doing the hidden brad technique, it'll work fine. But that just seemed to work so well with the star in the centre. So yeah, you could have done it with any of the nativity scenes. And like I say, I've got this exact same sheet in silver as well, and this must have been in a box for many years, many years, I'm sure. I don't even know who these are made by, but yeah, if you've got something like that hidden in your stash, great way to use them up. And I wanted to show you, you could get a similar effect if you've got any stained glass style stamps. I was going to do this in my circle section, but I had so many ideas, I thought I would just show you. I'm not actually going to make this one, but this was a set from Creative Stamping. This was Stained Glass Christmas, and these ones that are like a stained glass effect and they're circular, or even the ones that aren't, would work in the same way as a peel off. So you could just stamp them in black, you could colour them in, you could leave them black and white, or you could stamp them and heat emboss them, so you could have them gold, silver, whatever colour you want. So just let me show you. So on the back here, I think the idea with these is that you could stamp a centre piece and then you could stamp the borders. So if I show you again, so here's the centre, and then repeat the border stamp all around the edges. So you could do that and then cut it out with a circle or a scallop, or you could still do this. Just because it's a circular shape doesn't mean you couldn't use a star die or a flower die. So again, the poinsettia, I've got that the flower one that I used in one of my previous videos. So again, similar effect if you've got anything that's a sort of stained glass style stamp, that you could do a really similar style card that you could do with a peel off. So if you've got black peel offs, you could colour them in, do it stained glass. So if you did that, you could colour the layers underneath to one of the colours that's in your picture. So yeah, I thought that was a really fun way to use up peel-off stickers. And again, it's quite a quick way, because if you do leave it, you know, monotone colours, it makes it a complicated puzzle, and it's really quick to do if you're making lots of them for Christmas. So I just need to come back, cut my edges off this, now it's dry, stamping inside, and that one's all done. So there you go, one more idea for Christmas cards. For this card, I thought I would show you a little bit about how I would go about batch making, because obviously at Christmas we make lots of cards. I'm using this lovely stamp by Indigo Blue, so this is the Baubles Flourish, and I'm going to do some 5x7 cards. So that's the stamp, and it's a rubber stamp. It's red rubber, and they come foam mounted from Indigo Blue, I think. So I've just got it mounted in my stamping platform. So I could repeat stamp this on a 5x7. I've got it positioned where I want it on a full 5x7 card panel, which is what's in there. I've just got a scrap piece in there at the moment. So I'd drop each 5x7 panel in there, and I would stamp as many as I wanted. Now, if my greeting was also foam mounted, I would have put it in and done it at the same time, but the greeting that I happen to want to use this time wasn't foam mounted, so I'm lucky enough that I've got two stamping platforms. I might have more than two, but if you had a bigger one you could do it in different corners as well. So I mounted my greetings again so that I could put my panel in. I will show you what I mean. Sorry, I've just knocked my camera cable. Sorry if it wobbles. So if I'd stamped my Baubles image here, I can then keep repeat stamping so that it sits, my greeting sits there. So if I was going to make lots and lots of these, I would definitely set up stamp platforms. If you've only got one stamp platform and you couldn't fit, you know, everything you wanted on your panel, then you could stamp all of one thing and then go and stamp all the greetings. But what stamps you use is entirely up to you, but I just wanted to show you. You can see this is a much bigger stamp, and I've done quite big greetings on it so that I fill the whole panel with what I'm going to use. So this is what I've decided to go for as my full panel. So the greetings I've used, these are actually both from Skull and Crossbuns, who I've mentioned in videos before. I'll put a link to them. I'll put a link to Indigo Blue down in the description. They're both lovely small British companies, and they both make rubber stamps rather than the see-through ones, which if you're doing lots of repeat stamping, this Baubles Flourish, I've had this for years and I've used this time and time again at Christmases, because it does fill, you know, this is a 5x7 card, like I say, so it fills a 5-inch either square or 5x7 card, and then you can add things to it. But you could use anything however you want to stamp your panel. So I've got two different setups. One I thought I would do on craft in black, which is what this one was, and then the other I stamped with Versamark ink, and I used, this is gold tinsel heat it up embossing powder. So I stamped and embossed this one. Hopefully you can pick up the shine on that. If I can get the camera to catch it, hopefully you can see the shine on that. So I could repeat stamp that really quickly on craft and just keep stamping and do hundreds of them, or I would, maybe not hundreds, but you get the idea. And that, or I could repeat stamp in Versamark, could do them in batches. I can usually stamp 4 or 5 and then emboss them all in one go. But you can see how you could quickly do your panels. And then I would then have a session doing that, and then I'd have a session die cutting. So I thought I'd do 2 different variations of this. I'm going to use my star. So my plan is that we're going to cut the star out of roughly about here, so that the bauble at the bottom isn't in it, and we'll see what it looks like. I haven't put one of these together yet, so, but that was my idea, that the star is going to go about here, and I'm going to inlay the black underneath so that when I top one spin, you'll see the black, and in this case, you'll see the gold. And all of the die cut bits have actually come out of my scraps, apart from the gold, because I didn't have, of the largest, because I didn't have anything wide enough. But all of the colours, all of the craft, all of the black is still all coming out of my scraps box. from my star die set, I've got them all stuck together ready to go. I'm using not the largest because I wanted it to sit here. I'm using one down from the largest and then just missing one each time. So right down to the tiny smallest. This is going to be pretty much like all the other ones I've done. So I'm just going to whiz through, assemble these, and we'll see what they look like in the different colour variations. I need to cut some of these up. So when I need smaller foam squares, I keep a pair of scissors for sticky jobs. So this is my sticky scissors because there's a good chance that they'll end up with sticky on, and I tend to kind of cut a line at a time. So all I've done is cut my foam squares in half. So there we go, there's our first Christmas star spinning puzzle card. And if you send it mixed like this, some of the greeting has disappeared, but the Merry Christmas is still there, but it gives your recipient a fair idea that they're going to have to do something to this, which I think is quite fun. The same design, but in gold. And there we go. If we start mixing this, you can see all the gold layers peeping out, which I think is really fun for you to send it mixed up like that. And like I say, it becomes pretty obvious for the recipient, I think, if you choose your pattern so that, you know, something goes off the edge, it'll become pretty obvious that there's a puzzle element to the card. So there we go, that's quite a sophisticated card design. Whether you went for it in, you know, something, this would obviously be quicker to batch make because you don't have to do the extra embossing and heat embossing. But obviously Christmas, if you wanted a bit of sparkle, now you could dress this up with some sequins or anything like that, glossy accents, whatever it is that you like to dress things up. I just wanted to show you how you could do a really fast batch make. Use your stamps, use your stamp platform, cut all your layers in one go, cut all your inlay pieces, and then just have, you know, a session where you die cut your top pieces and assemble. I don't think I'd die cut too many in a go. I'd try, you know, too many at a time, trying to keep the correct layers together because there will be some variation. But yeah, you can vary the colours. We could have done this in silver, we could have done it in gold, we could have done it in red. So if you've got a stamp in your collection that's a larger stamp that would work in, you know, a multitude of colours, you could do, you know, find yourself a shape that works on it, find yourself whatever scraps you've got. So if you've got tons of, I don't know, red scraps left from card making last year, for example, you could have stamped this all in red and done red for your inlay layers to make it, you know, a bit different. Or if you've only got white, you could pick a coloured card and do it in a reverse. So yeah, it's a great, I don't know what you'd call it, a stash buster, scraps buster. So yeah, you could even inlay a patterned paper and coordinate a colour on your stamp. So yeah, whatever scraps you've got that you think you could use up on hiding in between your layers, I think that's a really good way that you can batch make and use up all those smaller scraps, especially if you've got smaller dies going on. So these are 5" by 7" cards. So anything that's under a 5" square scrap, that's the largest piece that I needed for these. So there's one card idea. Let's do another. So this next one, we're just going to whiz through it really quickly, but I wanted to show you what I was going to use and a little bit about how I went through my stuff. So this is Nature's Garden Nativity by Crafter's Companion, and this particular stamp set was one that came with Creative Stamping issue 100, and it was actually 4 stamp plates. So there was another 2 sets that I think might have been used somewhere else. But yeah, it came with 4 different sort of selections of stamps on 2 different A4 stamp plates. So I thought this one was a really good image that we could use, and I stuck myself a post-it note on when I was going through so that I knew what I was thinking. So with an arrow to this, and I put circle, cross that out, star, or hexagon, hidden Brad, add around the edges. So I just written myself some quick notes so that when I did come to make it, I knew what it was that I'd been aiming for. So that was how I went through, and I picked some pattern paper. I'm just going to use this pattern one. This is from Christmas Critters, which is by the Paper Boutique. This is one that's made in the UK. This has got lots of cute images. In fact, you could quite easily just have cut one of these out. So this is an 8x8. So you could have done the small circle idea on this, or you could do stars. They're all lovely, cute images. So you could just use something like pattern paper. And I think there's 36 sheets, 6 of each design. So I'm just going to use the pattern in this, and I just used that to pick out some colours. I'm going to go for 6x6. I've already done it all just so that we can just stick it together and get going. So all I did was I stamped the stamp. I picked from my Spectrum Noir Tri Blend, I picked Vintage Blue Blend because it was a tone that matched the backing paper. And I did Muted Brown Blend for Joseph, and I've got, I think this is, First Skin Blend. And if you are looking for alcohol markers, these are a really good starting point. If you're just going to be colouring little small images, they're a lot better price point than things like Copic markers. So in each of these pens, you get a light, a medium, and a dark. Now, obviously, you don't get as much ink, in these. So the light's got more because generally speaking, you would fill your area with light and then use the medium and dark to do, shadows and things. But if you're just doing small images, I think they're a really good starting point so that you've got colours that are going to blend together. And just so you know, they do them in a brush variant, and these ones are a bullet point. Now, I actually prefer bullet points to the brushes, so I've got more of the black than the grey, but I think they've released pretty much all the colours. I'm not 100% in the different styles. So if you prefer a brush, it's the grey ones, and the black are the bullet ones, the bullet tips. But yeah, they're a really good starting point, and I'll stick a link in the description, probably to Crafter's Companion website, if you're interested in trying out something like alcohol markers. And yeah, I like these, just takes all the guesswork out. So for example, on Mary, I just used 2 of the same pen, so I've only used 3 pens on this whole image. Makes life a lot easier. So I coloured my image, just fussy cut it out around the edge just with a little white border, stuck it to my pattern paper. I've already run that through my die cut machine, obviously just centred on my circle, and I cut myself a silver layer to go underneath it. And as we've done every other time, I might not need the silver one, but I've cut it because it's got the stitch detail around the edge, and of course my bottom layer with my silver circle wouldn't. And I could have gone through all of this, but I didn't think my die cut would. This is quite heavyweight. Although this is lightweight, it's a heavyweight card on the top, and this is heavyweight, and I wasn't sure if it die cut nicely, so I just went through the pattern paper and the top image. So these have all got a stitch layer, so while I could just stick this to here and the silver would show through, it would be missing the stitch image, the stitched edge, which my dies happen to have. So I've cut one of everything, and we're just going to stick together, and I've got my one to hide out the back. So let me get all this stuck together. There we go, got my topper all ready to go. Now I've got to decide if I'm going to do it I could make this, like I say, a circle card, or I could just mount it on a larger card. I think it'd be nice actually on a white card, but leave a white border around the edge. So, and I think I'm going to leave this without a greeting as well. So which size do I need? I'm going to just go one up from the silver that I've cut. And my die cutting machine usually cuts through, but if it hasn't, I'll show you what to do. Let's see. Yeah, mine's cut through. Mine usually cuts through. I haven't had any issues really with it not doing. So if it hadn't, all I'd have done is open it up, cut it off here, put this back in and run it back through, and it would then cut through the back layer as well. And I've never had issues. Occasionally it doesn't cut all the way through, but I rarely get issues. The only thing I would say as a little tip is if, like my bottom die cutting plate, which I flip and use and keep using, and is still pretty straight despite it having been used and used and used. This is a Sizzix Big Shot one, but it applies to all cutting machines that I'm aware of anyway, is because this is getting really quite worn now. I don't know if I'll pick it up on camera, but this is the back. This is the one that was touching, and it started to pick up all the cut lines. So if you have that happening and you want the back of your card to be pristine, which this isn't, I don't mind for the purposes that I'm doing it, but just stick a piece of copy paper on your plate so that these little indentation lines end up on the piece of copy paper rather than on your card blank, which is what's happened here. So that's my little tip for the top. And these corners, so the bits that I'm hiding underneath is what I've been cutting these little, just rough cutting my own little circles out of them. I could have done it with a circle die, but I've just made one roughly the right size and started drawing around it. So everything that I've been using to hide underneath the star at the back has been coming out of these corners. So save your scraps and do things like that with them. And because the hinge is at the top, there's also got a flat. If I wanted to, I could stick another panel on top of this that's cut to the full size of the circle. You can always gut it if you don't want to lose the middle. So I could cut another piece so that I won't lose that circle. So I think I'll do that just so that you can see what I mean. So yeah, the reason to do that is so that we've got a whole circle on the front, so I don't have that little ridge. And like I say, you could gut it, you can do whatever you want. Circular card, stands up, doesn't wobble. Like I say, I'm not going to put a greeting on this, but you obviously could. I'm going to, find a nice stamp for the inside, I think. I think this would be another one that you could, get the kids involved with. So if you've got kids or grandkids, you could stamp the images, get them to colour them in. They're really quite simple to fussy cut out if you pick a simpler image. I think the star obviously lends itself to the nativity idea, but just thought that was another variation to show you. Yeah, and I do like it with the silver showing when you mix your puzzles up. So yeah, any nice line art that you can colour in, match it to your pattern papers, which is exactly what I did. And there's another one. Let's do another. Right, this next one really is just a variation one we've already done, but again, I thought I'd show you the stamps we're using. So this was Silhouette Scenes, and again, this was another one from Creative Stamping. You guessed my subscription. But because the silhouettes have always worked really well on the examples I've done in the past, I thought I'd just show you a nice silhouette version. And again, this is what I did. I wrote star die, black and white, colours under, ombre blue, gold, silver, stamp on light blue. So I had all sorts of ideas running around my head when I saw this little setup down here. So again, nice little nativity scene. This one happens to be a silhouette. So again, Christmas. I'll show you what's under there. So again, Christmas, if you were mass producing, silhouette stamps are really good. No colouring in. But this one might be a sneak peek of something that's going to get used in my next video, I think. This one's going to make an appearance. Maybe this one, I'm not decided yet. But yeah, so all I've done is use the nativity silhouette, but you could have done it non-nativity. You could have gone with all these little silhouettes and built up a picture. These would have worked in the snow globe to build up a picture. There's all sorts in this stamp set that would have worked really well. And I just went with the joy to the world. Seemed to fit. And all I've done is I've gone A6. So I've got A6 card blank, as I said. It's roughly similar to American A2 size. So if you're in the US, it's slightly taller, slightly narrower, but it's not a dissimilar size. And I just to add a little bit more interest to my panel, I just cut it out with this is just an A6 stamp set, die set. This is from Time for Tea Designs. This is the Hooray A6 panel and sentiment die. So obviously I'm not using the Hooray, I've just used the panel. It just added some interesting stitching down the edges and cut my panel to exactly the right size. That was, just one less step, so you could cut yourself a load of panels ready, and then I don't need to worry about the size. But it just added this interesting stitch detail down the sides, I thought. And the stars that I'm using happen to have stitched on. So I've got my panel stamped. Again, I've just set it up in my Misty, did all the black stamping, and then I used the stars just stamped around with just on an acrylic block, and I just did that with that's Dovecraft. It's the premium pigment ink pad that's obviously the silver. So I just stamped that everywhere. And so again, it would be really fast to mass produce this. And then the variation that I did for this, I could have stamped it on light blue. I thought about it, but I thought, no, let's go with the black and white again, but let's have blue showing through. So I just found scraps, literally tiny scraps in ombre blue that we're going to put underneath this just for something a bit different, a bit fun. But it was just another way to show you some ideas with using the stars in a different way. So there we go, there's that one all done. Again, just need to stamp something on the inside and this one's finished. So the variation with this is using those different coloured layers underneath. So when it's all finished, it's just a monochrome, black and white with the silver stars. But yeah, I think adding, really good way to use up all your scraps. If you've got, a blue section in your scraps, just go through, find the blues. I was thinking Starry Night, but it could equally have been oranges or yellows or greens. It wouldn't have mattered. But I quite like the ombre idea. So on most of the examples I've done today, I've stuck with one colour. But I thought this was a fun way. You can use up all those scraps. And yeah, anything that's a silhouette stamp definitely seems to work really well for the puzzle idea. And the stars are a lot more forgiving that, you're going to see those layers. So why not make a feature of them? But it's a lot more forgiving that you can't see them at all there once that you've done the puzzle. So I think that's a really fun way, use up whatever scraps you've got, whatever stamps you've got, this idea would work. And yeah, it's just another good stash buster idea. So with this one, I thought we'd go for something a bit more fun. So this is Christmas Gnomes, again, creative stamping. And this one was in conjunction with Polka Doodles. So again, I think they're a British company, Polka Doodles. And I just liked all these little gnome images across the middle. So there's one with the peace and joy stamps. There's a little guy on a swinging around on a bauble. And I really liked the little choir. But there was loads of images on here that would have worked. There's this fab snowflake sort of semicircle down the bottom here that you could have put around them. There was all sorts of ideas, even the trees, because they've got some line art in the trees. They might have worked. But yeah, I just thought I'd show you the back. So yeah, you could have used that stamp around the outside to make a bigger circle, or all sorts of ideas. But I thought I'd go with the colouring idea of this. And I went into my pattern paper, grabbed myself one of my very old, very well used Christmas sets of paper. I don't think there's a date on it, but it's an old one. This I used this many years ago to make an advent calendar for my daughters. So all these bits have been used on an advent calendar. So that's why I've got all these old bits. And you see, I can't throw scraps away. So I'm not sure what use that would be to anybody, this strange scrap. And again, all these strange scraps, these are from using digital die cutting machine to cut out panels to go on a advent calendar. So I don't know why I can't throw scraps away. So, but I took colour inspiration from this, and I thought this sheet was what we'd use. Stamped my little gnome-ess. I thought definitely a girl, and she's got her peace and joy, and then there's words in the background as well. So I just stamped her, coloured her in colours that sort of toned with the greens and things in the background on the paper. I did myself a mat, which is bigger again, and this is it's about a 5-inch square card blank. I think it's something like 12.5 centimetres, just under 5 inches square. But what I thought we'd do with this, I've already got her coloured, and again I've used my tri-blends, but I thought what we'd do for the layers that are hiding underneath, I thought we could colour them in tones, and for the mat I thought we'd do them like I did in the original dinosaur card. I thought we'd use our pens to make them match with the colours. So I'm thinking I might do the light green for my back mat to match in with the light green on her dress. So I think that was this colour. Yeah. So all I'm going to do, you don't need to colour the whole thing. So as you can see, there's only going to be that much showing. So I'm just going to go around the edges. So if you haven't got lots of coloured card stock, there you go. The colour will even out as it dries. It's a really quick way. So I just toned it in. So she's going to sit on there. So let's do the same thing to the stars that are going to be in the layers that show underneath. See, I think I'm going to go and stick with the green because this is going to be what shows through at the back. So let's go with the green. And again, you don't need to do the whole thing because only this much will ever show. So you only need to colour the points. So that's our layers. While they dry, let's get her stuck to here and we'll die cut it. So what I actually wanted to do was centre my star on her nose, and her nose is going to end up as a pink brad. Like I say, do as I say, not as I do. Wait for your glue to dry a bit if you've got a bit more patience. So this is why I said make sure you've got glue everywhere. So there's a tiny bit here. There's a teeny bit left on the edge here and here. So always make sure your glue's out to your edges. So just while I'm sticking this, I'm just going to explain. I have finally pretty much run out of white scraps big enough to at least cut out the larger bits of my puzzles. So I've still got small scraps, but I haven't got much that's wide enough, at least for the larger size, and for some of this, and probably mainly for this size as well. So I just wanted to explain what I've been doing. I have, obviously my top layer is still pattern paper or a thicker cardstock that I can colour on nicely. But for all my in-between layers, all these hidden bits and all my infill pieces, I have been using really, really thin steel card, but it is 160 GSM, and it's just, if you're in the UK and you've got a range nearby, it's the really inexpensive 160 GSM paper from the range. Very inexpensive, and it also means that you're not adding too much bulk every time you stick a layer in. And it's nice and white, so if you're using a nice white on the top, it doesn't show as being different on the edges. But by the time you've got 2 layers of the 160 GSM with a layer of glue, plus something on the top again, so in this case we've got 160 GSM, 160 GSM in the middle, and we've got 160 GSM. This is only a thin pattern paper, but then we've got 300 GSM on the top. Everything starts to become fairly sturdy, so it still works for the puzzle. So if you haven't got any thick scraps, you don't need your underneath layers to be expensive cardstock. You can use thinner, inexpensive cardstock. But yeah, I've been using up all my scraps, but I have finally started to run out of white ones big enough, which is a miracle in itself because I had loads, and I really mean loads because I can't throw anything away. I think it's a crafter's disease. You know that the moment you throw something away, you're going to want it. So I don't think I need to back this because this is 300 GSM stuck on top of the pattern paper. I don't think I need to back it. And I'm just going to pop my hole in the middle of her nose. Got the little pimp brad for her nose in the middle. Everything spins. Now, because I've used the thinner layers in there, a little bit tighter, but it definitely still all spins. There we go. And like we did with the dinosaur, we've used the colours that feature in our image in those layers underneath. So again, makes it really fun puzzle. I just went with some, you know, non-traditional colours perhaps, but again, I just picked things that went with my paper. So another really good way to use up pattern papers, stamps. It could be if you've got layered die cuts, you could do it in the same way that I did the dinosaur one. Didn't have to fiddle about doing the hidden brad with this one because her nose fell up nicely in the middle for me. So yeah, I think that's another really fun card. So yeah, she's come out really well. And again, get the kids colouring in or die cut, or if you've got decoupage images, you can cut those up. Anything like that, pretty much any image seems to work. So hopefully that's all been useful, and lots of ideas on ways to use up peel-off stickers or scraps of card, all these ideas. Hope they've been really useful to you. And just while we have a little last look at the cards that I've been making today, I just want to say thank you to all my new subscribers, because yeah, I've been on a bit of a roller coaster ride over the last few weeks. In case you don't know, a little over 2 weeks ago, it's not much more than 2 weeks, at the very end of June, I posted my first spinning puzzle card video, and I had about 60 subscribers. 50-ish of those I'd had for years, 3-4 years probably. I'd added about another 10 doing odd videos this over May and June of this year. And then I did my spinning puzzle card video and it went nuts. So Sam Calcott from Mixed Up Crafts, she borrowed my idea and did a variation of it and shared my channel. And thankfully, lots and lots of you came and subscribed to my channel. And in roughly 2 weeks, I've gone from 60 subscribers to, I think the last time I looked a few minutes ago, I had 678 subscribers, which is a huge increase in 2 weeks for most YouTubers, you know, that are tiny channels like myself. So I am really, really grateful if you're one of those new subscribers that's come in and subscribed and has been enjoying looking back over my old content. Some of my content, I think, is about 4 or 5 years old on my channel. So some of it is awful camera quality, and sorry about that. Some of it's been there for years, but I'll leave it up because, you know, there's probably worth to somebody in it somewhere. So thank you for those of you who've subscribed and have gone back and looked at my old content as well. That's been really lovely seeing the little numbers jumping up. But yeah, I've been doing a little happy dance every time I've got a new subscriber. And for anybody who doesn't know, all the advertising revenue, so I've not chosen to put ads on my videos, and until the last few weeks there's never been any ads on my videos because I didn't have enough views or enough subscribers. But YouTube have started putting ads on my videos because of how many views they're getting. But yeah, until I hit 1,000 subscribers, YouTube keeps all that advertising revenue. I don't even see a percentage of a penny of it. So yeah, it would be fantastic if, you know, you could share my channel with any of your crafty friends that you think might enjoy it, just to nudge me over that 1,000 subscribers, just so that, you know, rather than Google making all the money out of my time and effort, it would be nice for a little bit of pocket money to maybe go and buy some more craft things. Shh, don't tell my husband I said that. So yeah, it would be fantastic if you're in any craft groups or Facebook pages that, you know, you could share my channel on. That would be lovely. I can't tell you how grateful small creators, there's not just me, there's thousands of small creators out there. But yeah, we really do a little happy dance every time we get closer to what YouTube call monetization. And it's not about making a huge income. I think unless you're as big as, you know, Jennifer Maguire or some of the channels that have got, you know, the tens of thousands of subscribers, I don't think anybody's ever really going to make anything more. But it'd be lovely if I could support my hobby and not have my husband saying, "What have you been buying?" You know, like they do. So that would be lovely. So yeah, I'd be really grateful if you've not subscribed, if you could maybe just hit the subscribe. That'd be great. And yeah, if you have subscribed but you've got crafty friends, maybe share my page with them. I'd be ever so grateful. So yeah, thanks for watching if you stuck with me while I waffle here at the end. And I will see you again. I have at least got, there's definitely one more Christmas spinning puzzle card idea floating around my head. There's definitely one more video, might be two, not decided yet. So yeah, hopefully that was really useful. Different ways that you could use the stars, get the kids involved, use your scraps, all that stuff. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.